Hey guys, it is January 21st, 2021. It's another day and another challenge, and I am your host, Samantha K, and this is the Samantha K Experience. Hi guys, wow, it's been a while. I haven't heard from you guys since last week or the week before, actually. A little tidbit of information that I want to drop to you guys. Last week I was supposed to do an episode, and honestly, the same day that I was supposed to drop episode number 4, I was feeling pretty bad, so I didn't get the chance to record anything at all that day. And I kept saying I was going to do it, and then all of a sudden it's like things kept getting in the way. The next day, which was like Wednesday, I was like, well, I'm going to have time to do it. And then I was like, oh my God, it's like there was so many different things going on. I just couldn't get the chance to record. Then it got to the point where I was like, well, let me record on Saturday. And it was like, oh, no, that's not happening. I was like, oh, crap. So I was like, well, you know what? I guess this is not going to work for me. And then Sunday came and I was like, well, this is a brand new week now. So what am I going to do? And I was like, well, for one, you have to change the entire show, because the things that you wanted to review from the previous show, you didn't get to review them. So it was like, oh, great. So now I have to change episode 4 and then possibly make another 2-part episode, which was like, okay, we've been there, done that. But now I'm like, all right, let me just, do another 2-parter and then maybe episode 5 later on in the week. So finally, I'm here and I've had some time to sit down and record. So here we go. All right. So I know last episode I talked about reviewing the 2 movies called Breaking 1 and Breaking 2. Well, unfortunately, I know I'm not able to record or review Breaking because I didn't get the chance to review Breaking at all. And it's kind of like, well, I promised you guys this and then I didn't do it, especially since it unfortunately the actor Shabba-Doo had passed away in December. So I just wanted to do a tribute to him because of the fact that he was so influential in breakdancing and just dancing in general. So I just wanted to kind of do like a retro review on those 2 movies. But unfortunately, like I said, I didn't get a chance to do that because it's been one heck of a week. But so I had to change the lineup for the show. Today we're going to be talking about a couple of movies. A movie called Rebecca, starring Lily James and Armie Hammer. It's also on Netflix. It's like a romance thriller movie, and I'm going to get to that in a second. Another movie that I watched recently was The Kissing Booth, starring Joey King. It's a coming-of-age teenage drama movie. The first movie came out in 2018. It's also on Netflix, and it's a part of a trilogy. I believe they just finished filming the 3rd movie, and it's in post-production now for this year. Both the first movie and the second movie is now on Netflix. The second movie, I believe, came out last year in 2020, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. As far as the TV shows, I just started watching the show called The Ripper on Netflix. I know I watch a lot of Netflix shows, and I'm trying to change that up a little bit, guys. But yeah, I did watch all the episodes of Ripper. It was a limited series. It was about I'll just I would say it's about murder, obviously from the title of the name. So I'm gonna go over that, It's only one TV show that I'm gonna cover today because for time constraints, and I didn't want to bombard the show with so much stuff. So here we go. And also for the book reviews, I am gonna just cover Love Olympus by Rachel Smythe. I know that I talked about this at least maybe 2 or 3 times before. I think twice already. But I like reading the story. I don't know what is it about the story that captivates me so much. I think it's because of the yes, it is the mythology, but I just love the way how she writes these characters, because these characters, especially between Persephone and Hades, it's like they seem very relatable, with Hades being like the older guy and more experienced, more mature, but then he's unsure of himself and how he is, how he feels about Persephone. But yeah, it's a really good series. I'm gonna get back into more detail about it in a short while. And one thing I actually have to bring up, I don't know if I should bring it up, but I guess it's because of reasons for Anchor, for us podcasters to bring this up. Okay, so we have this thing called listener support, and basically is where we come and ask for donations and stuff like that. So listener support is to just help, podcasters like myself, stay active and be consistent throughout, the fiscal year. So if you guys would like to contribute to my show, I would be greatly appreciative of it. If you could donate anything from 99 cents to even maybe $10 or so, you guys can feel free to support the show. It's something as small as 99 cents or a dollar would be greatly appreciated to help keep the show going. And your support is very, very much needed and very much loved, and I'm eternally grateful for it. Okay, so let's start the show. All right, so the movie reviews, right? So Rebecca, like I said, stars Lily James and Armie Hammer. And before I go in more detail about this movie, there's some spoilers here. So if you don't want to hear the spoilers and you just want to hear my thoughts on the movie, you can feel free to skip ahead or just stop and then go on to the next review. But yeah, this movie, first of all, I was like, okay, a few weeks ago I saw this movie, right? And Rebecca, I would say, typically, I like to be more of like an eclectic person. Like, I would like to watch different things, and, I don't like to stay in the same bubble. So I'm pretty much all over the place in terms of watching like movies and TV shows, and even my music is very like different styles and genres. So I watched Rebecca and I'm like, Rebecca, what is this about? So then I see it's Armie Hammer and I'm like, okay, that's the guy from Lone Ranger. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna give this movie a try, because it looked, judging from the trailer, it looked pretty decent. Like, I didn't know really anything, and the description was kind of vague. It was just like, oh, this handsome widower meets this girl or whatever, and then things happen to go awry once he moves her back to his house. I was like, that is like the most vaguest description like I've ever heard to describe a movie. Like, I was like, what the hell is this? So I was like, you know what? You have my attention. Let me go and click on this shit. So I press play. Rebecca starts off like kind of slow because she doesn't even meet the main character, meet him. I think his name is Maxim in the movie. She doesn't meet Maxim like right away. She's working for this older lady, and the older lady's like kind of like a bitch. She was like, well, she's like of kind of like a high society kind of lady. I think she's like her I want to say her ward or her steward or something like that, but I don't know the exact title of what you would call her, because she seems more like a I want to say a Girl Friday or something like a secretary or I don't know. I don't know what Lily James's character, like what her specific title to this old lady. I want to say she was like her assistant. Yeah, assistant. So I was like, okay, so news got that Maxim was coming to this resort place. I believe they were in Europe somewhere. And this movie is a period piece. I think it's like somewhere it takes place maybe in the 20s or 30s. So the clothes are different, and there's accents. I think I think they might be in France. Because I remember the gentleman who hands her a note that works there. I think he had like a French accent. So they could be some or a French speaking country. It could even been Monaco for all we know. So one day she tells the character, Lily James's character, that, oh, Mr. Maxim de Winter, he's a widower and he's coming to stay at this place that they're at. This resort has a lot of well-to-do people. So I'm sorry, I'm just looking up to remember what Lily James's character's name was, and I'm just like kind of like all right, kind of want to keep calling her Lily James's character. It's kind of insulting. So I'm trying to find her name really quickly. Oh wow, that's like really not helpful at all. They just call her Mrs. De Winter. I mean, but I'm pretty sure homegirl had a name prior to that. All right, but anyway, so when the movie first starts, it's kind of slow, and when they meet, eventually the older lady, she's like, well, he's a widower, and she's trying to get get in with him, but he really seems not to be bothered, and he just seems like very, I want to say despondent, but he's like, I really don't want to be bothered type of thing. But I think one day at breakfast or at lunch, he sees how the lady treats her, like very dismissive and very rude and stuff, because she wants to sit down and read her book, and then it's like, or write her book. I think she was writing in her journal, or she was reading something, and they were like, well, you can't sit here because it's for certain types of people. And she was like, what? So he says, well, she's with me. And he was just doing her a favor. I don't think it meant to be like, I'm going to fall in love with this girl. I'm just helping her out because the lady that she works with is a complete bitch. And I just don't like the fact that she's treating this poor girl, this poor woman like this. So I think that's where their connection is on that. So, okay, her name, the lady's name is Mrs. Van Hopper. Oh, and then Monte Carlo. Wow, I said Monaco, but that was close enough. Okay, so yeah, guys, they really don't give this child a name, so they just got her. Okay, I'm getting mad now because they really don't have this girl have a name, and I'm pretty sure in the movie she had a name. Okay, anyway, all right, so I guess we'll call her by her name. So here's the thing. So she goes, and Mrs. Van Hopper is like, she notices that Mrs. Van Hopper takes sick. I don't know if it's because I think she was out on a drinking binge with a couple of friends, And she was saying a lot of derogatory things about the girl, because it's like, oh, the girl is this and that, and she's like, she's so stupid, and I don't know why I keep her. And then she, she was just saying a lot of reckless things about her, and like to her friends. Like she'd met like these two ladies and stuff, and they were these old ladies, and they were like sitting around drinking one night, and they was just talking, and she was just talking a whole bunch of crap about this girl. And the girl's like really, I wouldn't say she's very timid, but she's shy. Like she is shy, but it's like she's not really assertive in that regard. And then all of a sudden, it's like, well, you know what? I was like, wow, Mrs. Van Hopper, you're a piece of shit. Like, this girl works for you, and she does your bidding, and you talk crap about her like this behind her back. So that was one of those things, like, I really and truly don't like about certain characters, because it's like, this girl doesn't have a family. Both her parents are dead, and there's nobody else. And you're sitting here talking about how stupid she is, and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty horrible. So just by happenstance, which I thought was hilarious, and she just deserves this, she gets sick. I think she had like a hangover or something like that. So she's throwing up, and she goes and gets a doctor. While Mrs. Van Hopper is laid up for like a few days in bed, sick as a dog, the girl goes downstairs, and she tries to like hang out and read and stuff like that in the dining area. And the guys are like, well, you can't stay here because, I guess she doesn't come from money. She doesn't have that certain type of ilk. So Mr. De Winter, Maxim, he sees her, says, hey, she's with me. And then she's like, thank you for letting me sit here. He's like, no problem. And he's just like reading his newspaper or whatever. It's like, I don't think they even had that much in words exchanged between the two of them. So moving along, eventually he sees her more and more, and she sees him. They start hanging out. So every time she would leave Mrs. Van Hopper in the room, she would go and she would get a note from one of the fine people working this establishment, and it's always for them to go and hang out. So he takes her to a place where I think his wife, his dead wife used to come when they first came to on their honeymoon. So I'm like, hey, okay, this is kind of weird. Why would you take her to your dead wife, where a place your dead wife was familiar with? So I'm like, all right. So when she starts asking questions about what happened to Mrs. De Winter, Rebecca, which is the wife's name, he's very like distant. He doesn't want to talk about it. And I guess it's understandable because, she just died like maybe 6 months prior. So he's still going through the motions of grief. And, so you just want to give him some time to think. So eventually things turn a little bit more spicy between the two of them. And he takes her out on another date. And I remember there's one part that had me kind of like, oh, okay, that was random. There was a part where he goes and he's looking through a microscope. He called it a microscope. It's a periscope. It's a periscope? It's a periscope. And he's like, oh my, oh, okay, maybe we should leave. And then I'm like, what is he looking at? Because it was a beautiful part where they're looking, there's like nice water, and then there was a boat out there. So they're like, what's going on? She's like, oh, well, I want to see. And he's like, I'm pretty sure you don't want to. And then she looks through a periscope. There's a couple on the same boat having sex right there on the outside on top of the boat. And I was like, oh my, okay. And then he's like, well, I was trying to shield you from that. And she's like, oh. Then somehow, some way, that kind of leads into them eventually having sex. And I was like, oh, so we're just going to do this right here on the beach then. okay. And he takes her back to the hotel after they've had sex on the beach. And, oh, I forgot one thing. He also lets her drive his car. So she's also learning. She sort of is kind of sort of familiar with and without driving. So he teaches her, sort of speak, or lets her learn how to drive, since she doesn't really have access to a car like that. So that's a little tidbit that, I had to put in there. So basically, Rebecca, the movie transitions into Mrs. Van Hopper finds out that her assistant is spending a lot of time with Maxim. She starts telling her, like, oh, do you think, she's giving her like crap about, oh, pretty much like, do you really think that he's really interested in you? Like, you're just the flavor of the week, pretty much, and you're just very naive and being very stupid. And I'm tired of I think she said she was tired of Europe, or she was tired of the place that they were at, and she was going to move back. And the girl was like, I don't want to leave. And she's like, well, you don't have a choice because you work for me. So she was upset, and she eventually ran into Maxim and told him that this is what the lady was trying to do. And he was like, well, the only way to get out of this is if you just become my wife. And I was like, whoa, that's a bit extreme, buddy. Like, what the fuck? Like, you guys know each other for the equivalent of maybe, 2 fucking weeks? Like, 2-3 weeks? Like, what the hell? So he goes to they both go to Mrs. Van Hopper, and they announce their engagement. Mrs. Van Hopper tells him straight to his face, like, oh, she's happy, she's thrilled, and this, that, and the third. And then no sooner than he leaves, she just starts tearing into the assistant and says, oh, you don't know anything about love, and he's just pretty much going to leave you. And she was very much of a Debbie Downer. And then the girl, in her first moment of assertiveness, she tells her, like, well, you don't know what you're talking about, and I want to be with him, and I love him, and that's it. And she leaves, and she closes her door. So she ends up, so the movie kind of jumps a bit. We don't know when exactly they got married, but they show it in pictures that they get married. It wasn't like anything really serious. It wasn't like a whole bunch of friends and family came. It's kind of like on the fly type of wedding. So they get married. They apparently have their honeymoon, and he's like, I'm gonna take you back to Mandalay, which is my house. And I'm like, okay, so this is where the movie's gonna pick up, because it's kind of dry within the first half hour of the movie. So it's like you really have to stay on top of the movie just to make sure, like, if there's to see if there's a point. So basically, they go back to Mandalay, and the first thing you notice is a character called Mrs. Danvers, who is his wife's former caretaker assistant. Mrs. Danvers obviously has the typical trope of this lady is not to be trifled with. Like, she just has this air about her. It's just like, listen, bitch, like, you're in my domain now, so whatever I say goes. So Mrs. Danvers doesn't take kindly to the new Mrs. De Winter. Everything that this girl does is wrong. What does she do? She gets chastised for not asking Mrs. Danvers for help at anything, because the new Mrs. De Winter wants to be more independent. And I get it, because now she's free from her obligations from Mrs. Van Hopper, so she wants to live comfortable and wants to get to know, like, the goings on in the Mandalay house. She's not used to this type of waiting on me hand and foot type of thing. She's not used to that lifestyle. So she's trying to do things and still be her own independent person. We get that. But then Mrs. Danvers starts doing the most. And don't get me wrong, the main character, Mrs. De Winter, she does some stupid shit too. Like, there was a room that had all of Rebecca's invitations and her figurines and stuff. She accidentally breaks one of them and puts them inside of a little cubbyhole area. And then later on in the movie, one of the staff members of the house gets blamed for breaking the thing, no, for stealing it. So Maxim and Mrs. Danvers, I believe it was at the time, or another servant, is pretty much getting on this poor young man for breaking or for stealing this thing. And he's like, I didn't do it. So then she finally comes up and she confesses, yes, it was me. I accidentally broke it. And Mrs. Danvers was like, well, what did you do with it? I said, it's inside the cubby area or whatever. And then Maxim was already pissed off from a previous situation. And he's like, well, that's just good to know that, Then we find out in the movie that Maxim sleepwalks. And then she follows him sleepwalking. And she went to go touch him because he's going to this other room that's on the other side of the house where Rebecca used to be. And Mrs. Danvers, who's obviously don't sleep and creeping around the goddamn house like she owned the place, tells her, don't touch him because you can't touch sleepwalking people. It's very dangerous to wake them. And he goes into the room, and then that's it. And then she closes the door. So then the poor Mrs. De Winter got to go back to her room alone in this big ass house with her man, in this room doing God knows what. So I'm like, maybe he's having an affair with somebody or something. So at this point, you really don't know entirely what the hell's going on in this movie, because you're like, okay, this movie went from nice little romantic, sweet, semi-boring couple, to why am I seeing this guy sleepwalking? And then when she asked him about it, he's like, well, have a nice day, enjoy your breakfast. And then just leaves the parlor room. And it's like, what the hell? So it was a lot of things where he did certain things that just came off very, like, dismissive and disrespectful. And I'm like, wow, okay. So moving on ahead, it was like, then she starts seeing Rebecca's ghost and just flowing through the house. I remember there was one point where it was a cringe moment. She said she wanted to keep having. They used to have these events, these ball gown events at the house where Rebecca used to host them. And she was trying to come up with an idea of what to wear. So at one point, when she goes into the wing that Rebecca used to stay in, everything is just completely about Rebecca. Her hairbrushes, her clothes, her every little thing, like certain things is just embroidered with the letter R in it. They even kept her old stationery. Like, it was just like Rebecca this all the time. Like, there was the main character just could not escape none of the stuff that was involving Rebecca. And you would think that a woman who passed away 6 months ago, you would have gotten rid of at least a lot of her shit instead of keeping it in the house. And then the man marries this new girl, and it's not like the staff didn't know that he married her. Word had to get out. When he sent it back to Mandalay saying that I'm remarried and this, that, and the third, all of a sudden now it's like Rebecca this all the time. So now the main character starts feeling a certain type of way, and eventually she discovers like this weird decrepit beach house that has it has like something that she discovered, like a those little round circle things that you see on the boat that has like the boat's name on it. It kind of looks like I want to say it's like a wreath, but it's not a wreath. I don't know. I'm not into boats and stuff like that. So I can't really describe it all that well. So she goes and she sees all of this stuff, and then she sees like this weird guy who's hiding behind a curtain, and Rebecca's dogs are drawn to this guy. And she goes, and the guy's like, oh, this is the lady's dog, and she doesn't come around anymore, and then it starts to unravel like certain things, like what happened to Rebecca. So then Mrs. De Winter outright asks what happened to her. The husband, Maxim, shuts down again. He's like, he's really not trying to talk about this. He's like, did she die out here? Did she drown? Did she, what happened? And then his close friend, essentially is like, well, yeah, she did drown. No, she died out here. Well, yeah, they said that she drowned, but no one really wants to talk about it, because he was like, oh, he didn't tell you how she died? And she's like, no. And he's like, oh my God, poor Maxim. So you start feeling kind of bad for him. It's like, well, why is he so distant when it comes to talking about this? You would think that he would want to get it off his chest. The man is just like, don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear it. Leave me alone. So it later comes out, Mrs. De Winter, Rebecca, the first wife, had a cousin named Favell. Yep. He's an asshole. Mrs. Danvers apparently invites him to the house, and this is where the movie is getting kind of like, okay, where we getting to the point in this? Mrs. Danvers is a conniving woman. She's all pro Rebecca, even after Rebecca's death. So she's like, well, she's gonna make this man suffer. It comes out that Favell is a cousin of Rebecca, and the night that Rebecca died, she sent him a letter stating that she has something important to tell him, and he didn't know what. By the time that he showed up, she was already dead. She was already missing. So now the fingers point to Maxim, that Maxim probably killed her. So now the new Mrs. De Winter has to figure out whether or not she she married a murderer. So Favell teaches her how to ride a horse. And I admit, the guy's kind of creepy, because it kind of comes off as if he's trying to push up on her at the same time, but not really push up on her. And even the same horse that they're riding used to belong to Rebecca. So they was going out of their way to make this woman feel like she would never be up to the same standards of Rebecca. So there goes the same theme again from the beginning of the movie, that basically specifies that, you know what, you ain't nothing because you don't come from the same class. You'll never achieve that same level of status. So that was pretty much what I was understanding the driving force throughout this movie, now that I sit back and think about it. So, well, Rebecca is, her ghost is running around the house. The main character sees her. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Because this lady's starting to go, I feel like she started her sanity started to break. So eventually, Rebecca was like, well, haunting this poor girl. I don't know if it's because out of guilt or whatever, but it seems like she was trying to tell her something. It comes out that later on, while everyone goes to the beach, it is discovered that Rebecca actually didn't die exactly the way how they said she did. They discovered a boat, her boat that she had out on, that she used to go out on. They discovered it and pulled out her completely decomposed body out of the water. So now it leads to question, who the hell was it that Maxim identified the body in the morgue? So then there's a case, there's a trial, and Favell at one point tries to blackmail about $10,000 from Maxim and the current Mrs. De Winter, because he feels that Maxim killed his cousin. And now then the movie comes to find out, Maxim then reveals later on in the movie, and here's a twist. Mrs. De Winter says something about, oh, I know it's hard for you because you loved her. And he was like, loved her? I hated her. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell's going on here? So the whole time you're thinking this man don't want to talk about his dead wife because it hurts too much. No, it's not that he don't want to talk about her because it hurts too much. He doesn't want to talk about her because, quite frankly, he couldn't stand the bitch. Apparently, it discovers that Rebecca was like the biggest hoe biggest hoe ever. Like, apparently, she was having an affair with her own cousin. She was having an affair with Maxim's best friend, because it was alluded to that as well. And there was like, I think some other guy she might have been sleeping with, and then pretty much the parties that she was keeping and hosting at the house was just a way for her to meet new guys and sleep with them as well. Apparently, she was a wild child. I feel like Rebecca and Maxim's marriage was a marriage of convenience, and the way how the marriage was set up was that Rebecca would turn around, sleep with these guys or whatever, and then she would just ridicule her husband. So it was one of those things, like, he was happy she was gone. So then it comes to find out, it's alluded that before she died, she told Maxim that she was pregnant, and she said, would it be funny if I ended up being pregnant and it wasn't even your child? So it was like, wow, this woman is a real. So you're thinking, is he telling the new wife this because of reasons, or like what really happened? So essentially, he did kill her, but it was more like she begged him to. So Rebecca apparently writes the letter to her cousin telling him that she has something important to tell him, to make him aware that something might be wrong. At the same time, she tells Maxim all of this crap, and she says, hey, if you want to end it all and don't, how about you just shoot me? Apparently, Maxim did, and I guess must be in a fit of rage or just, distress. He shoots her, puts her body in the boat, and lets the boat go out to sea, and I guess drown her. I think he said she was already dead by the time that I think he said she was already dead. So he put her body on the boat and then let nature or whatever take its course. He ran the boat aground, which caused the boat to sink. So I think he thought no one was going to find the boat, but unfortunately something digged it up, and then here comes the boat. So and then he also had identified the body at the morgue, and he thought it was her. So he didn't know that the body was still underwater the whole time. So he thought it was her. So when the court case comes now, the new Mrs. De Winter is taking more of an assertive role, because she realizes that after he told her the story, she's like, something is off here. There has to be evidence to clear him to say that he didn't kill her intentionally. So she was like, so they said that she went to go and see a doctor about the pregnancy. So nobody knew who this doctor was. So the main character, she goes and ends up finding out, hey, guess what? She finds a doctor in England or whatever it was, and discovers in her medical records, by the way, breaking into the man's medical records is a crime in itself. So they discover that she was not pregnant at all. She was experiencing nausea because she had terminal fucking cancer. Okay, that made it seem like, and they said that her belly was getting a bit big because that was the tumor. That's what made it seem like she was getting pregnant, and because she had asked to have her clothes let out a bit. So, with that being said, she had terminal fucking cancer. One, she never told Mrs. Danvers that she had the cancer, because when they first discovered the medical records, they were looking for her actual name. That'd have been too easy. So if she put everything in Mrs. Danvers' last name, but only her first name, and then that's what happened. So then they found the records. Favell basically makes this whole big ass scene about how he was going to kill him because he killed his baby. I'm like, first of all, you was having sex with your own cousin, and then you tried to tell Maxim about how you was hoping that he would share his wife with him and the others, that they used to do the same thing with Rebecca. And I never felt so happy in my life to see somebody get punched in their face. Maxim punches him in his face. I'm like, oh, he should have beat your ass even further. But then she was like, Maxim, no. She kept trying to control Maxim. I'm like, no, just let him beat him up. He deserves it. He's trying to extort money. Then he trying to say that he trying to hold you up like they did his cousin. No, we're not doing that. No. Like, what kind of man would sit there and let his wife get ran up on like that? You know, and you just married this woman. So what are you doing? At least he gives a shit more about this girl than he gave a shit about his first wife. So I was like, all right, well, you know what? This is too much for me. This movie was like over 2 hours long. And then I was like, okay. Mrs. Danvers at one point burns down. She finds out that, you know, he killed her. Killed Mrs. De Winter, the Rebecca one. And she's like, oh, I'm living to torment him the way how he tormented her. And I'm like, hold up. Mrs. De Winter, I understand loyalty is a thing to you, but your lady was a complete slut and a really nasty, mean person. She ruined this man's life and made it look like he outright just killed her when knew she was dying of terminal cancer, and basically forced him to do a mercy killing. That's really messed up. And then before that she sends the note to make it seem like she was murdered, to make it seem like he found out that she was pregnant and she killed him, and he killed her in a jealous rage. That's messed up. Even after that, you just didn't care, like that your own boss was like I was like, wow, that's loyalty to a fault. So she was like, okay, well, I don't care about all of this, and that doesn't even matter. He did it anyway. I'm like, but there was extenuating circumstances. Plus, she had terminal cancer, and she didn't tell you. So, how much does she actually really give a shit about your opinion? And you're sitting there brushing her hair and thinking about all these memories and all this other stupid shit, but and treating the new Mrs. De Winter like crap, like helping her design a ball gown and put on a wig to make it look like it was his I think it's his cousin or something like that. No, not his cousin, his great aunt, and from a portrait, and have one of the other maids help her out. And then when she comes downstairs at the party, Maxim lambastes her because apparently it was an outfit that Rebecca had custom made for herself. And you set her up to make her look bad. You're saying you're going to help her. And she's like, you saying to help me, this and the third. And she was like, oh, you don't think that you're ever going to be like her. You're never going to be. I'm like, what is with you, these people, and thinking because somebody is of different standards doesn't mean that they have to be the same way. They could be just themselves. They don't have to live. You want to force them to live up to the expectations. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing. At the end of this movie, he's cleared of the charges, and it comes to find out Mrs. Danvers, in a fit of her stupidity, burns down all of Mandalay. So then when Mrs. De Winter comes and she finds her at the edge of the cliff, she's like, please don't do this. Do not kill yourself. And she was like, oh, I'm going to see to it that you two deserve each other. Something like that, she says, or she was going to ruin them. And I'm like, how is your death going to... So she jumps off the cliff into the water. And I'm like, okay, good riddance? I shrug. Because I was like, well, even if there was something that you decided that you were going to get back at them, how is your death going to accomplish that? Unless you set up a whole series of Saw events that was going to happen. So I was like, anyway, this movie is like, okay. Now, here's my point of view on the movie. I know there was like some details that I left out, like the fact that well, I was gonna say something, I just completely forgot. So my basic understanding of the movie is like, well, they ended up being together and they're living, I think, in a hotel, and you could tell from like the main character, like she's a lot more different now, and she stood by her husband, and she's looking through the wedding pictures and places that they've been, and they were planning on, but then it looked like there might have been the ghost of Rebecca probably inside of her. I don't know if it was just me when she hugged him at the end, like something with her eye, like I don't know if that was like the spirit of Rebecca in her, or something changed in the character, because it seemed like she went from being an innocent, naive kind of like shy girl to more assertive. Like she finally changed towards like, maybe I would say like 2/3 of the film, because it's like you had to break down her mental state, and then when pushed in a situation where it's a do or die situation and she was about to lose the person that she actually loved, then it was like a light switch went off. So there was like a change in her. Now, here's my personal opinion on certain things about the movie. Once I found out that, I think for me, I feel like loyalty goes a long way, and I'm gonna just get all of this out in one shot, hopefully without messing up. Loyalty goes a long way, and I feel like if you take away certain elements of this movie, it would just been a regular romantic comedy or romantic movie in the first place. So I'm gonna keep the thrilling stuff inside. My personal opinion, and I spoke to a friend of mine about it because I asked him to watch the movie and tell me what he thought about it. My personal opinion about it is, if I was the new Mrs. De Winter, and I understand that I married you and I don't really know a lot about you, the fact that you're not telling me how your first wife died and why you refuse to talk about it, that's an instant red flag for me. 2, you got staff here that is doing the most to me, setting me up for failure as a Miss Danvers, and then you keep telling me that she's nothing to worry about and to leave her be. And I'm like, nah, this bitch is a problem. So when I tried to fire her the first time, you overrode it. And then the second time that I tried to fire her, that was it. I got rid of her because she was doing the most, because she set them up. She lied and said that she never invited the cousin to the house when she clearly did, because one of the staff members even said so. And then she lied to him and said that she never invited, he just invited himself. So which meant that Mrs. Danvers was out to get them from the very beginning. Once he came back to Mandalay, that was the problem. She wanted to ruin him. So it didn't even really matter if he married somebody else. That was just the icing on the cake. She was out to ruin this man because she felt that he murdered her mistress. And she stood by this woman's side from when she was a little, and she raised her. Obviously, you didn't raise her with scruples because she was like a mean hoe. So she was over here gallivanting and then sleeping with the man's friends. You sleep with your own cousin. And then it's like, ew, what? And then I'm sitting here like, okay, this is nasty. And then the concept of you want to project all your negativity on a man's new unsuspecting wife, and then you get mad because she didn't come to you for help. You wasn't going to help her anyway because she wasn't Rebecca. She even said it so much as that you will never be her. You think you may have his name. You're not Mrs. De Winter. And I'm just like, wow, this is pretty shitty. The girl don't know nothing that's going on, and then this is what she's being told. So, one, I'm telling you, if he's not telling me the truth and being forthcoming, that's a red flag. Two, you got staff here that's wilding and doing the most. That's also a red flag. If I'm sitting here seeing ghosts and stuff and all of that, yeah, I think it's time for me to be out. From the moment that he went off to go to England to do something, I'd have been like, you know what? I'm going to pack my bags and I'm going to leave. Fuck Mandalay. I don't know where the hell am I going to go, but I'm not staying here because I don't want to be around Duppy, and Duppy's a ghost. But I don't want to be around that. So I'd have been out. And I'm like, yo, there was a perfect spot for her where she could have left. And she chose not to leave. And I'm like, okay, I respect that she wants to stay and tough it out with him because she loves him. She's falling deeply in love with him, even though that this was a marriage that was not conventional. I get it. But come on, like seriously. So I was like, nah, I'd have been out, because it's just certain things that, not telling me that you murdered your first wife or you shot her or whatever, or you assistant suicide her or something like that. That would be a kind of like a, I need to sit down and really, reevaluate some things about this relationship and where is it going. But yeah. Overall, I think it was a good movie. Would I watch it again? Probably, maybe. I'm not really too sure. I'm not so sure about it. I probably would watch it for things that I didn't see the first time that I'm picking up the second time, like little bits and pieces that I feel like I might have missed out on the first time. But overall, I think it was just like a one-time thing for me. Yeah, and that was Rebecca. Like, it was wild. Like, I was just like, what in the heck is going on? And why is this girl so sticking by this guy? Like, what has he shown you since you moved to Mandalay that he was really in love with you, rather than maybe sleeping with you a couple of times? Like, I don't know if that's gonna be a thing. Like, I don't think that would be a thing for me. But that's just how these movies set up some of these main characters to be, and that's what we gotta go with. All right, guys. Now moving on to The Kissing Booth starring Joey King. I mentioned earlier that it was a teen comedy, and basically it's about these two characters who share the same birthday. I think the birthday was July 7th, if I wasn't mistaken. So their moms know each other. They were like best friends, and they give birth. And one character's name is, I believe, is it Ellen? Yeah, Ellie. Her character's name is Ellie Evans and Lee Flynn. So it's a boy and a girl. And oddly enough, here's an interesting tidbit. The woman that plays Lee's mom is 80s part of the Rat Pack. I think she was part of the Rat Pack. is Molly Ringwald. And I was like, holy crap, Molly Ringwald is in this movie? And I was like, yes, this is bringing me back to like the John Hughes era of teen coming of age movies, because I grew up watching John Hughes movies. Like I used to watch 16 Candles and stuff like that. And I was like, holy crap, like, you know, it was kind of like a nice little nostalgic moment there. So these two characters, they grow up because their moms are best friends. Unfortunately, Elle's mom has an illness. She ends up passing away when Elle's like maybe 14 years old. So the two families still keep in contact with each other because of the connection that Elle and Lee have as friends. Elle and Lee also like to dance at an arcade on the dance game, which is like the equivalent of DDR. So they have that much in love in common. And they have these set of rules that they both try to abide by as they're getting a little bit older. So by 16 years old, by 15, 16, they go to high school. I think it's like maybe AA, because the high school, they wear uniforms. And on Elle's first day, she rips her pants, and the other set of pants is in the dry cleaners. She doesn't have time, so she wears like her 9th grade skirt, and the thing is so super short. One of the kids grabs her butt, and she turns around, and Lee is going to say something, but then the guy goes and tries to punch Lee. Out of nowhere, Lee's older brother Noah comes and trucks the guy, ground and pounds him. The principal comes and breaks it up on the first day of school for, I think, junior year, and then all of a sudden she gets in trouble. So all three of them get in trouble. So Noah ends up in detention. She ends up in detention for violating the dress code, and so does the bully, because of, you know, what he did, grabbing her butt, and, you know, technically they both fought. So I'm gonna tell you right now, I can see why some people will have a problem with this movie, because it's like this is like maybe, I guess in some eyes it might be a little stereotypical. So what you think is maybe Elle and Lee may get together. That's not what happens. Lee and Elle are like the true best friends. Like there's no romantic interest between the two of them, at least as far as I know from this movie. There's no romantic interest between the two of them. But Elle ends up falling for Noah, who is the older brother. And even though he's supposed to be off limits, because they have a rule, which is rule number 19, do not fall for your best friend's brother or whatever. So she has to try to fight the urges of falling for Noah. Noah is very, very, very rude. It's like it's kind of hard to see why somebody would want to fall in love with Noah, because Noah is the type of guy that he is rough. He is the bad boy. And as he pointed out, that the reason why he ended up doing what he did in the movie was he used to warn other guys from dating Elle, because he didn't want them to mess with her. So when she agrees to go out with the bully stands her up. So the bully goes and tells her, like, listen, I'm sorry. The reason why I didn't come to the date because Noah told me not to mess with you because you were off limits, that nobody's allowed to date you. So she got mad and she called Noah and she's like, listen, you cannot run my life. You have no right to do so. And he says, you'll see about that. I'm like, bro, are you serious? Like, who does that? Like, you know, so it was just one of those things, like, he does things that makes it seem like he has too much of a hold, like, authority on her life. And they weren't even dating at the time. So eventually, they want to raise some money for school, and they decide to come up with a kissing booth. So these girls, the OMGs, one girl Lee has a thing for. I think her name is Marie. So he has a thing for her, and they said that they wanted to be part of the kissing thing because they wanted his older brother. Because not for nothing, the older brother is kind of hot. Like, you know, he is kind of cute. So I get it. But it's just the fact that Noah doesn't want to do it because he was like, yo, I'm not doing that stupidness. So Elle lied to everybody on the committee that she's going to get him to join the kissing booth. So as the movie progressed and stuff, eventually Noah agrees to do the kissing booth. And the girls set her up because they realized that she didn't get the right Flynn to do it. She's like, well, as promised, I'm going to get a Flynn to do it. So then they find out, the girls were like, well, Elle, we only wanted to do this because we thought Noah was going to do it. We don't want him. So he got offended. And then like a lot of girls left. And then there was one girl that remained. Now she's his new girlfriend. I can't remember her name now too, so I'm just going to call her Rachel. So him and Rachel go out on a date at the carnival where the kissing booth was at. They seemingly have a good time. So when there's like an hour left of the kissing booth, she turns around and Ella's like, well, hey, you know, there's an hour left, and he leaves her to go off and hang out with the girl. And the OMGs tell her that, you know, she's up next to go and do the kissing booth because nobody else is there. And so she's like, okay, I'm not sure if I really want to do this. So they blindfold her, and I don't know where Noah comes up, and he skips one of the other characters. I don't know the guy's name, but he's part of like the nerdy group. So he's like, oh, you want to skip me? He's like, oh, sure, thanks, dude. So he skips him, and he goes and he kisses Elle. But Elle feels like the fireworks is there. So she ends up feeling like, when she discovers that it's him and people are taking pictures in front of the entire like student body, everybody's like, oh, well, you know, oh shit, you know. And she says now she feels like she wants to kiss him again. So now the feelings are coming stronger, but she's not sure that, you know, their feelings are reciprocated. One night so after that, she walks home after they collect the money from the kissing booth, and she's on her way home. It starts to rain. So he picks her up on his motorcycle and tries to drive her, but the rain is so bad that they're sliding on the road. So he has to turn around and then take his time to you know, get everything settled. And he's like, well, he takes it to they manage to get to the spot where it's like a I want to say it's like a gazebo, and she goes and she kisses him again, and then they get broken up by a security guard that tells him, hey, Noah, what did I tell you to stop bringing girls here? So she got mad and she left. She's like, are you serious? So she gives him back his jacket and his helmet. And he was like, well, when can I see you again? So she kind of started smiling a bit. And they end up secretly going out behind his brother's back. So all the time she's like coming over to the house. She's hooking up with Noah. I remember there was one part where his mom came and said, hey, I'm gonna get some of your laundry. He's like, no, Mom, it's all right, because they were in the bed making out. And she was like, I think she was in I don't know, I think she might have been in her underwear or something like that, but she ended up going underneath his bed, and I was crying because there was there was a porno magazine and which was open, and it had like, I think there was like a jar of like, I think it was like petroleum jelly or something like that, and I was crying. I was like, wait, what is that? I was like, oh no. I was like, why his girl gotta see this? But I was like, it's typical teenager stuff, so I can't really knock it. But it was just so funny to see. She's like, oh, what is that? And then she's hiding, and she's trying to get this. The mom's trying to get the sock underneath the bed, so she just kind of like pushes the sock towards his mom. And his mom did not know any of this was going on, so I was like kind of glad for it. There was another part where I think Lee had Lee almost discovers them twice, like at least twice before. And there was a part where Elle gets injured, she hurts her head, and she gets a scrape. And Lee thinks it's Noah, and he's like, no, I fell and it's fine. He's just giving me a a bandage and stuff like that. So the two almost start fighting, and it's like, it's just like typical boy behavior. But it's later on discovered that Noah is planning to go away to college, and he's going to Harvard, because as much as he likes to fight and he's like the resident bad boy, he still is like, a really smart dude. And he's really like putting in that work. So she said, well, when were you going to tell him? He's like, don't make a big deal out of it, and don't tell anybody, please. So that was 2 secrets that they had to keep. Eventually, it comes out that Lee discovers them kissing in his room, and Noah and Lee start to argue. So she tells Noah to back off, so she goes to talk to Lee. As soon as Lee her start to talk, and she tells him, listen, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do this. And he was like telling her, like, he's not gonna care about you, he's just gonna use you like the rest of the girls. And she's like, it's not like that. And she was saying, and then Noah had came down to try to talk to him, and then they started trying to fight, and he was like, just listen, like, so he kind of like straddled him to try to stop him from forcing to fighting. And he said, well, at least the 2 of you haven't slept together. And at that point, they already had their first time was by the Hollywood sign. And they were right under the first L. It was like a sweet, tender moment, because he did tell her that, we didn't have to do this if you don't want to. And she was like, no, I want to do this, it's fine. And so her best friend's brother took her virginity. So, but at that time, he's a boyfriend now, because he, But I think there is an issue with the age range, because since he is going off to college, so you couldn't assume that Noah is already 18 and going off to college, and Elle was a junior in high school, so you give or take she's 16, so there might be a little questionable age right there, unless he's like 17. But we don't know. They never really specified. I'm only going according to the grades, because Noah was already a senior and going off to college, and Elle was a junior in high school, so she had 1 more year left in high school. Anyway, eventually they have prom, and I think originally Noah wanted to take Elle to prom, and she was kind of like dead set against it, because then when they showed her they did a tribute to her and Lee about the kissing booth, and Lee did the reenactment with his girlfriend, and Noah came wearing a suit, and he looked really handsome in it, and she was like, Elle was like, no, I can't do this because I hurt Lee. And Lee was pretty much still on that whole, well, I don't want y'all 2 together type of thing, being, typical friend. And, but one of the rules had said that, you should be happy for your best friend. And then it got to the point where she was like, I can't do this anymore because I love him and you're kind of, it's like you found your happiness and let me find mine. It's my mistake to make. So when they had their birthday party, it was a costume party, and he dressed up as Batman. And she dressed up as like, I think a 60s superhero chick, because she kind of had like the long hair. She could have been one of the Spice Girls. I really didn't really know what her outfit was, but it's discovered that she said Noah was leaving to go off to school, and she wanted to tell him how she felt, and she spoke to Lee and told Lee, listen, I have feelings for your friend, and this can't work. Like, I want to be with him. And he was like, well, I hope you know what you're doing. She's like, yes, I know, but it's my choice and my mistakes to make, you know, and I'm sorry if it hurts you, but I really and truly in love with him. So he was like, okay, I know where he's at. I'll meet you in 5. So he goes, meets up with her in the car, and she's like, okay, I gotta go tell Noah how I feel, that I love him, and this and third, and come to find out, and he was like, well, you just did. And she's like, what? And then apparently Lee had switched costumes with his brother when right before, and apparently she was going to see Noah off to school. So Noah and her spend the next couple of weeks being with each other before Noah goes off to school, and she ends up seeing him off at the airport. And then it pretty much, he left his motorcycle with her, so she's riding it, even though her father doesn't like the fact that the two of them are also together, because they know about Lee's history with girls. I mean, Noah's history with girls, I'm sorry. And it just became like this thing. So now she's trying to discover herself, and you know, wondering what's next for her and the upcoming senior year. And that's pretty much where the movie ends. I'm currently watching movie 2, so I can't really give you much of a description on what's going on right now in that movie, but yeah, it's okay. Like, I mean, I like the kissing booth. I thought it was kind of cute for what it was. You know, it was really interesting. It is typical, but I just don't like certain concepts. Like when there was one point where she was walking away and he got mad and he slammed his hand against the thing. He's like, "Oh, I'm talking to you," and I'm like, "Oh no, we're not doing that. Like, you're not yelling at me, sir." So it was one of those things that I really didn't like about Noah. Like, he seemed kind of like a little bit too forceful when it came to certain things, and also making the decision of not allowing her to date other guys, even though at the time they weren't even remotely romantically linked to each other. I felt that was also a little bit too much and a little bit offensive, because it was like, well, why are you making the choices and decisions for her, you know? And he's like, oh, but that's my kid brother's friend. And I'm like, that's not the point. Like, you don't do that, you know? So it was just one of those, I appreciate you being protective, but that was a little too much. So those little things about Noah that I really kind of didn't like too much, because it was just like, okay, he could be a potential problem in the future. He's always quick to anger and stuff like that, and it's like, it's a bit much, but I guess she could see the good in him, you know. And I like the fact that he went and he had a straightforward conversation with her dad after everything had came out, and he had a man-to-man with him, and he's like, listen, sir, I know you don't want me to be with her and stuff like that, but I really do love your daughter, and I really want to be with her, and, you know, regardless of what you say or not. So I think the father respected him enough that the boy came to him and told him that how he felt about everything, regardless of what the father might have said. So I respected that he said that much, because he put it out all on the table, in front of the father, and just told him how he felt. Like, he didn't really mean for all of this to happen. He didn't start out, catching feelings for his daughter, and he knows about his reputation, but it's just like, it's something about Elle. And then, he would love to take her to prom if she wanted him to. Like, he put his best foot forward. Even to the point where he didn't even originally tell the father why he got in detention the first day of school, because he was trying to defend her honor. So it was like, you could kind of see the good qualities in Noah, but you could see the bad qualities in Noah. But that's like typically with anybody. But it's just that you could see, like, he's not really a bad guy, but he just has these tendencies. So it was kind of like, it was all right. I guess it was okay for what it was. So right now I'm currently watching the sequel, and when the third movie comes out, I guess I'll be watching that too. So that's all I have for the kissing booth. All right, so I know you guys are expecting me to talk about the Ripper series about the Yorkshire murders, because I know that today's episode is kind of long. The Ripper is basically about these murders that happened back in the 70s and 80s. I don't know if it's still happening in the early 90s, but I know the time frame was like in the 70s and the 80s, where this guy, Peter Sutcliffe, had been running around killing a lot of women in the 70s and 80s. And I believe maybe in the early 90s, I'm not too sure. I think he might have been locked up by then. Basically, it was about the whole police investigation on catching the guy who was like the modern day equivalent of Jack the Ripper. By the end of his killing spree, it is known that he had killed at least maybe 13 women over the course of the time frame, and assaulted maybe 10 more in the process, because there was more victims that were still alive, that they've mentioned to the police about who this guy's MO. His MO was to hit women in the head, and he would either stab them, and he just leave them in various parts of the city, like Leeds, and he was just like pretty much almost all over the map. And the police at the time, I don't think they really understood who they were dealing with in terms of the MO, but they basically alluded that the guy was killing prostitutes, because a lot of cases, the women that he was killing were mothers, and they'll be outside at night. So they wanted to allude that these women were prostitutes. I think maybe one or two might have been actual prostitutes, but they put the stigma out there that the guy was hunting down only prostitutes, except for the one unfortunate victim was 16 years old, and she was working at a store and was on her way home at night when he killed her. So in the interviews, you could tell that the police had it wrong from the beginning, but they still alluded to that this was his modus operandi. And it was just like, dude, really? Then they found out later on that one of the police officers had investigated and even spoken to him as a suspect when he had given his captain the information. The captain pretty much did nothing, and it just sat on the desk, and that was it. So it was like this knowledge that you guys could have caught him a lot sooner, by maybe a couple of years, and he wouldn't have had victim number 13, So it was kind of like, Jesus Christ, like, are you serious? Like, You guys could have stopped him a lot sooner if you guys just paid close attention to all the evidence. Like, I understand it was like a large area that they were working around, because he wasn't always killing in the same area. He would move out of the area, go into a different city, and then kill someone there, and then move on and do it in another city, and then probably go back to where he was from. So it was like, when they finally discovered who he was, and by saving grace, the girl that he was with, he told her not to say anything, and he got picked up by a couple of beat cops. It was like, holy crap, this guy fits the description of what we were looking for. And finally he got arrested. I was just like, so I always get mad when I hear like a police officer he had all the facts right there, and then when he goes to his superior officer and he tells them, hey, this is the stuff that I got, the info that I got, and nobody follows up on it, and then another murder happens. And like, that really gets me mad, because it was like, you had the evidence there, you had it. It shouldn't have to take these other two cops to go and find him and finally get this guy arrested. And then when they bring in the potential victim for questioning, and she starts telling him stuff, and then they find a hammer close by where his car was. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? You guys, thank you guys for saving this woman's life, but look at all the other persons that he killed beforehand that this could have been prevented if you guys had just listened to that one freaking cop. Like, so it was just like really unsettling to hear that. And it was like a really good series. Like, I like watching documentaries and stuff, but it was just like, I was just so annoyed by the fact that, it's like, it was right there, and it's just, people dropped the ball. And I think that's that's like one of the major problems with like the police investigations, because people always seem to drop the ball all the time in certain things. And especially when you're working with a lot of detectives, and then you guys have to share information, it's kind of hard, especially in certain times, like in certain eras and certain decades. Sometimes we didn't have the technology that we have now, and a lot of times back in the day, certain cities and certain police departments didn't talk to other police departments along the way. So it was one of those, certain cases stayed in-house and other cases stayed in-house in a separate district. So there was never like really a proper correspondence between the two. It was literally working one case and having two investigations, and then keeping two separate things, even though they should. They talk to each other and take notes and pick each other's brains about what's been going on and how to capture this person. Luckily, they captured him, and when they said, a lot of people was like, this guy, you would think that he would have been some guy that people would notice, but he wasn't somebody that, anybody would have paid attention to. So I guess that's why it made it so easy for him to do what he did and get away with it for so long. So, and he kind of tried to model himself as the original Jack the Ripper from the Whitechapel murders back in the 1880s. So it was like, okay, this guy thinks, and he, even his handwriting, the letters that he sent to the police, it was like certain things that he would say were coinciding along with that of Jack the Ripper. So it was just like, okay, this is nuts. I guess the only saving grace is that he passed away last year in 2020, and I was like, well, good riddance to old rubbish. It's like, you did all of these murders, and not only that, he was married, and I think he even had kids himself. So it was just like, it always boggles my mind, because typically you would think like a serial killer would be like the typical loner, and not part of society. Like, they're really more like introverted type people. But when you hear them, there's like white collar, like, blue collar, got a wife and kids at home, and you're out here like, it never ceases to amaze me. Like, it's like, what? Every time you hear something like that, it's like, oh my God, seriously? Like, he had his whole life, whole family, and he's out there doing that. So, you know, it just boggles my mind. But yeah, if you guys want to check out the Ripper series, it's on Netflix. I believe it came out sometime in December. So check it out. I think it's about maybe 6 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. It might be 8. Just check it out if you want to, if you love documentaries. And now, for Love Olympus, this is going to be my last review and my last topic for the day, because I got to go and pay some bills. Love Olympus, which is a webtoons comic by Rachel Smythe. I am in love with this series. Like, I'm in episode, I think I'm just now entered the 40s, and I'm nowhere near close to ending season 1 yet. I think I have like maybe 60 some odd episodes to go. It's a long season. I absolutely adore reading this story. Like, I love the fact that Hades and Persephone, because they were always my favorite couple in Greek mythology, and my favorite god is Poseidon, because I love water and I love the sea. I can't swim, but I love it. I think for me, what I really enjoyed about it is the way how Rachel tells the story of these characters. Like, they seem very relatable. Like, Persephone is like very, she's very youthful. She's smart, but she could come off kind of like a little timid. And I really feel like she would be the type to get under Hades' skin, but in a good way. Like, for instance, there was this one scene that I recently read where she plays chess with him. I'm not going to tell you in what context, like what was around the whole story about it, but she makes it look like she is not able to play chess. Like, she's going to get washed up. He's going to beat her in like 2 minutes, and that's it. But when she offers to play him in chess, now obviously he thinks he has the advantage because, she's young, she's inexperienced. But then when her demeanor changes and she starts playing the game, she beats him. And he's like, what? So it was one of those, like, she could kind of come off, I wouldn't say ditzy, but she doesn't know everything, but she low-key knows everything. So she's not as maybe dumb as a lot of people think she might be, because she might come off that way, but she is very smart, very intelligent 19-year-old Persephone, and who lives with Artemis and in an apartment. And she's very very intelligent, and she seems to have a thing for Cerberus. The dog loves and adores her. Like, it even broke away from the underworld to go and find out where she was. Like, I guess it must have smelled her scent. So she goes and she puts a wreath of pearls around its head, and then it goes back to the underworld, and Hades is like, what is this on the dog? So I think for me, I love the story because it's so cute, but it's such a even though that it's drawn in a way that's kind of cutesy, to me at least, it's not chibi cute, but it's cute enough because the characters represent different colors. Like Hades, I keep saying Hades. Yeah, it is Hades. Hades is like a dark blue as opposed to her hot pink. So when she goes into the underworld, the color, her pink color pops against the blue, and when he goes out, traveling, his blue kind of pops with everything else around him in his environment. So I like that. I like how certain characters are portrayed by certain colors. Like like Hera, she's yellow, so she's the goddess of, it's like almost like she has this vibrant light about her, even though she could be quite a, handful. And Zeus is like an indigo or something like that. He has long flowing hair. So I like the storytelling between Hades and Persephone, even though that they're not they're not the only story that's being told. Like they mentioned the story of Eros and Psyche, and I thought that was really a good storytelling on that part. It's just like I like the fact that how she makes it more modern and more relatable in terms of like how the characters are being portrayed. Like you could tell that these are characters that you could support and get behind. Like these are actual people, that have real problems. So I think I like that about her storytelling. But yeah, right now I'm currently I think in episode 40, 41, somewhere right there. And so right now I'm like maybe 2 years or 3 years behind, because the story started in 2018. So I'm a few years behind, obviously. So I need to like catch up. But when I do, I get so caught up in the story, and I'm like, I want to know what's happening next and next and next and next. But I gotta slow down because I have other things that I have to review. But yeah, guys, honestly, I can't tell you enough about Lore Olympus. There's other things that I'm going to be reviewing in episode 4.5. But hopefully I could get some time to watch these things and record episode 4.5 maybe tomorrow or later on tonight, and just upload it tomorrow for you guys, so you have that to watch and listen to, excuse me. But without further ado, I'm going to be out. I obviously been doing this for over an hour, and this is my longest show so far, guys, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe it. I just want to make some quick notes. Remember, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha KPEXP at 218. That's Samantha KP. Excuse me, Samantha KEXP 218 on Instagram and Twitter. My blog is also the Samantha K Experience.blogspot.com. You can also find me on the Samantha K Experience.tumblr.com for more updates and just me talking my stuff on there. You can also follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/Samantha K EXP 218 as well. That is my official blog page. That page is based off of my Blogspot page, and so on and so forth. For any other content that you wish to view, I have some pictures on there from previous fashion shows, and also a convention that I went to a few years ago called the Women in Comics Convention, and I took some pictures of some artworks and some other designs from fellow artists and comic book artists around. So you guys are interested in that, you're welcome to read that and view that. And I am out of here, guys. Until next time, peace. Hi guys, Samantha K here from the Samantha K Experience. Just want to let you know, new episodes on Wednesdays and Saturdays. You don't want to miss it. See you then.